This is my first episode since my cancer diagnosis.
I was down, but now I'm up.
Dr. Berger is a dedicated dentist who believes in putting patients first, combining compassion, expertise, and a healthy sense of humor to make every visit comfortable. With a doctorate from ATSU and a passion for mentorship, he's committed to advancing his field and serving his community.
I was down, but now I'm up. Yeah, it's all God, this ain't no love. Yeah, I used to.
Welcome to the EG Dominates Dental Podcast, coming to you today from Smiles at Lakewood Ranch with Dr. Jacob Berger. Welcome to the EG Dominates Podcast. This is my first episode since my cancer diagnosis.
I'm honored. Thanks for doing this.
But I've been following you on social media for a long time, and I love your content. I had the chance to get to meet you at the Winter Conference in Orlando, and I tend to look for and gravitate to people that I feel like have a lot to offer from not only a human standpoint, but also a leadership standpoint, somebody that is active in the community, and somebody that's a great communicator. And I reached out to you last week, and you invited me graciously to come down here and do a preceptorship with you for the day. So thank you for that.
Yeah, man. You made it happen pretty quickly too. So
yeah, worked out really
Which
really
works
good.
well with who I am, because honestly, if I'm like, let's do it, then it's like I can't stand when it takes a year to figure out plans. Like, just say yes. Come on, bring your butt down here. So I'm glad you did, man.
Yeah. So the whole premise of the show is to give doctors a platform where they can talk about themselves, where they're from, what they're passionate about, and hopefully people can watch this and learn some pearls of wisdom from you that are in the dental industry, and hopefully people that are not in the dental industry will see this, and if they're looking for a dentist, hopefully you're somebody that they can feel like they can connect with. So with that said, you have a beautiful practice. I've never been down here to this area before. Are you from this area, or how did you get here?
I'm not from this area per se. I am from Florida, born and raised in Tampa, right on the corner of what I would say is like the heart of Tampa. For the most part, I can get to either downtown Tampa, University of South Florida, or Raymond James Stadium where the Bucks play, within like 15 minutes of where I used to live. So that's home for me. That's where I grew up until, I was probably leaving for college around 22 to go off to dental school. And then home became Arizona. And that's where I went to dental school. But then when I came back, I needed to find a place to practice. And that's what ended me up here in Lakewood Ranch. So Lakewood Ranch is an hour south of Tampa. To those that don't know where it's at, it's an hour south of Tampa, where I'm born and raised. So I can go see my buddies, my favorite restaurants.
You're close enough to the action yet.
Yeah, far enough where it's not home anymore, but I can also say no. If somebody's like, hey, you want to come grab some drinks? I'm like, you're an hour away. But also if they want to play basketball or get together, I can also say, dude, I'm only an hour away.
Yeah, so that's nice. This seems like a really great family community. So talk to me about Lakewood Ranch.
Yeah, so Lakewood Ranch, when I had heard about it, there's actually something that I think maybe the dentists out there might be able to find some excitement in. And there was this thing called a Buxton score. People may have to Wikipedia it, or I guess you could chat GPT it or something. But I didn't understand what a Buxton score was. But they basically use it as an indicator for the growth of a community. And I'm sure I'm butchering the actual definition of it, but I was looking between here or an area called Fishhawk Ranch, I believe it was. It's like in Lithia Springs, which wasn't far from Tampa. It's still part of Tampa. It's a part of Brandon, Riverview. But they had this Buxton score that you can view, and I believe other companies use it. Target, Starbucks, Walgreens, to view like, should we put our business here? Is it going to grow, or is it already had its growth potential?
Sure.
So that was the thing that led me to this area. The second thing was just realizing it was newer. There is the median household income was in an area where I knew it could sustain a business. Like, trust me, I want to help the community. I grew up in an area with a lot of people who had very low median household income. I'm not against that. But are they going to be able to afford dentistry at a high level? And I'm not saying I need the richest. I don't. And we don't see the richest. But Lakewood Ranch, is an affluent area.
Yeah.
Where a lot of families come to live. A lot of people retire here. And there's a lot of people who live in Sarasota, Bradenton, and they travel to Lakewood Ranch to work. Or they try, a year from now, I'm going to save up money and I'm going to live in Lakewood Ranch. And so that's kind of cool to hear people almost set themselves up as a goal to live in Lakewood Ranch.
Yeah.
I like the area, and I set up shop now with Heartland Dental, and we created a contract where I was like, I'm going to open up one of your practices for you. I had a partner at the time in 2016, and they're like, trust me, it's a no-brainer. You want this spot. And so we are the furthest office east before you get into like where people are hunting crocodiles. Like, and it's called Mayaca. To all the Mayaca people out there, like, no offense to you, I think that's really cool. But you go that way, you're out of the city.
Yeah.
And so to be the furthest office east was almost like a bragging right, but patients say that. They'll say, like, anytime I go home, I always see your practice. Anytime, because you're right there. And since then, I think I've seen 10 offices open up in Lakewood Ranch.
Okay.
Since I've been open. But we set ourselves up.
Are you from a family of dentists, or how did you become?
No, I'm
how
not,
did
man.
you get into this field?
Actually, I like talking about this topic because I usually don't get a chance to with a platform. But my dad was a printer. He worked at a printing shop in Florida, in Tampa.
Okay.
And my mom worked at a probation office, and she was a supervisor for probation officers. You know, making sure all their paperwork was done, stuff like that. But no dentistry in the house. I didn't have a dentist, a hygienist, an assistant. There was no background in dentistry. Now, I went to the dentist, and I had some good dental experiences. Okay. Mom would take me to get braces. My teeth were crooked as can be. But there was a certain point where this mindset of going into dentistry happened. And I'll tell you about that story here in a minute.
Yeah.
But no, looking back, man, there was no motivation or inspiration coming from my mom or dad or brother or cousins towards dentistry.
Okay.
And then right around 7th grade, my father and my mom had a pretty ugly looking divorce. Like, from the outside looking in, you would say it would be considered an ugly divorce, where bad paperwork and arguments and threats and going to like a shelter with my mom out of fear. Like, there was that part where I learned a lot as a young man, like 7th grade, 8th grade, seeing that stuff happen.
Yeah.
But what it was doing, I didn't notice it was doing it until my late 20s. It was building character. Like, I felt like I look back and I wouldn't have actually changed a damn thing, because I feel like it taught me to work harder. It taught me to look over somebody like my mom. It made me realize, you know, that maybe one day if I'm ever in a position where I meet a young man that's going through something like that, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of motivation from that. In fact, that was probably pretty damaging, you know, if you think back, like, as a teenager, like,
yeah,
that's not fun to watch happen. But like I said, it made me learn a lot. But there was this thing that I could see in my dad that I still remember, because it wasn't a lot of great things during that time frame. But that man woke up at like 3 a.m. every morning to go to work. He had to be there at 4 a.m.
Okay.
And that man busted his ass for 12 straight hours, 5 days a week. And he put food on the table. He provided. They had a great relationship for like 20 years. Or maybe it wasn't great. That's between my mom and my dad. But I did see some work ethic in him. And that man, whether he had too many drinks the night before or there was an argument the night before, he still put on his uniform and went to work. And I feel like in a lot of ways, that is one of the things I did pull out of that.
Yeah.
But where the dentistry thing actually came about was later on, though. It wasn't until maybe 2 years into my undergraduate degree that I got interested in dentistry.
So you graduated from high school in Tampa. What high school did you go to?
It's called Hillsborough High School.
Hillsborough.
Yeah, Hillsborough High School. It's been around forever. In fact, my mom went there and graduated in 1972. So it's kind of cool that I went to the same school.
Okay. And then where did you go to undergrad school?
So I went to undergrad at a place called Hillsborough Community College, which I think is neat maybe for all the dentists out there or pre-dental students out there. A lot of people believe strongly in the dental community that when you're a pre-dental student or you're trying to apply to dental school, that you don't have a chance if you go to community college. And I believe that. I had gotten brainwashed into going like, my chances of going to dental school are low. I have to get to a university, because if you go to a community college, I almost felt like maybe that was below.
I think that's a vicious perception that's real to this day.
For other industries too?
Yeah. I mean, I have a 15-year-old son, and, you know, his grades are good, but you know how competitive it is to get into a 4-year university. I don't think there's anything wrong with going to a community college for a year or two to get your generals out of the way or to get coursework done before you transfer to a regular school.
Yeah, and it gets this negative light. Like, if you went to community college, you're not going to make it, you know, like.
Yeah.
And so, and for me, it was actually more so at the time because of the financial aspect. It costs more money to go to university. And I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it was like half the cost per credit hour to go to community versus university. Yep. And so I will say the first 2 years, though, I was at my community college, Hillsborough Community College. I had no interest in dentistry. Dentistry wasn't even on my radar. I was just going to school to go to school. I was actually doing it to check a box.
Not knowing what you wanted to
No
do,
clue.
just get the generals out of the way and kind
Yeah.
of see where it takes me.
There was maybe a slight interest in business because I felt like there was this entrepreneurial spirit I wanted to have, or maybe I was trying to believe I had. And so I was like, I'll take microeconomics, macroeconomics, maybe hospitality. Maybe one day I can own a hotel, a business, a barbershop. And I'll share part of the other reason why I went to community colleges. And this is a fun fact, but I was a barber from 7th grade.
Yeah, I've seen videos in the
All the
past.
way
I
up.
wanted you to kind of
Yeah,
talk about
no.
that experience too, because that's when I look at you. I look at somebody that is not your father or mother's typical dentist, right? Like you're new age. You're a new age dentist is what I feel like. You got tattoos, you're in shape, you're very personable, and I think that those qualities nowadays, especially with a population of people that are in their 40s that are just starting out and starting a family, you fit the mold of what somebody is looking for. It's not that same type of person from the 70s or 80s.
It
You know what I'm
has
saying?
changed. And I think I start witnessing it when I meet new patients.
Yeah,
And they
talk
sit
about
in my
that. Talk
chair.
about that, because they're probably like...
They
yeah.
do that, and they make comments about, like, oh, man, like, I love the way you interacted with me, or like, man, your bedside manner is so strong, or like, first dentist with tattoos, man, this is unique for me.
Right?
And but I love that. And in fact, that's actually what motivates me to get more. But maybe I'm already addicted to the tattoo topic. But there's something about breaking the mold that I enjoy. There's something about being able to say, I'm not going to let a tattoo interfere with my business. I can be that guy who can have tattoos and be a great
And be
communicator
professional.
or a great doctor,
Yeah.
a great scientist. I remember doing like a research project in dental school, and I remember just thinking like, I don't fit the mold of what all the researchers look like. But I
Yes.
still freaking killed it, and I know I could give it just as much as them. Like, they just carry themselves differently than I carry myself.
Yeah.
But I will go back because I think part of me telling the story of how the barbering turned into dentistry and where I grew up is probably what has a tattooed up dentist sitting here in Lakewood Ranch.
Yeah,
it kind of
as,
is how I
as
lived
the
it.
story goes, and you'll probably share the light on this subject, but I was always under the impression and told that the dental profession actually started out in the barber chair.
It did. It's cool. It's cool. A little bit of the background. So I get into maybe second year of college. I'm checking a box. I'm just going to school to go to school.
Okay.
And I'm cutting hair in my barbershop, I started cutting hair in a barbershop in 11th grade. So I got my license, had to take all the tests for that while balancing that with basketball practice and track practice. I was trying to stay athletic. I love sports.
Okay.
But I get my barber's license and I start a barbershop. And one of my clients, a couple years later, he ends up being a good friend of mine. He was on my basketball team. So there was a certain connection we had.
Okay.
And he was going to school at USF Medical School. His name's Kareem. Maybe he'll see this. Shout out to Kareem. But he said, while I was trimming up his mustache with the little straight razor, he was like, Jake, you should go to school one day to be like a surgeon, man. He's like, I'm going to school because I want to be, and I'm in medical. He was going to medical school. He wanted to be a brain surgeon or get into internal medicine. He wanted to go be a surgeon though.
Okay.
And he's like, there's something about my colleagues or future colleagues that they don't have hand skills, and you have that, bro. Like, you're using your hands. And maybe that's not exactly how the conversation went. I've told the story so many times, it's probably grown its own version of it. But I do remember him saying, like, I know you have it in you to do it. And to be a barber in the hood of Tampa and being in the traditional program at Hillsborough High School, where they have an interbaccalaureate program and a traditional,
Okay.
like, I didn't fit the mold for the kid that goes to school to be a surgeon. Like, I fit the mold for the kid who cuts hair, tattoos people, or maybe gets in trouble for doing something stupid. I'm just being honest. So it was cool to see him believe in me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to look into it, man. So I looked into surgery. I looked into surgeons. I looked into dentistry, like oral surgery. And then I got interested in dentistry just because of conversations and researching it. But I went to a public library and I got this little book. It was like How to Be a Dentist. And it was legit like 12 pages long. And I was like, okay, I got to take some prerequisites. I have this DAT test to take. It's like a business that I already do. You sit a patient in the dental chair, just like I sat him in a barber chair.
Yeah.
I work with my hands. They pay me. I work with my hands now. They pay me. But what was cool is the last page talked about the history of dentistry. And that's where I saw what you just brought up.
Yeah.
It said, check this out. It's a cool fact. Back in the early 1700s, only 3 people had a blade. Soldiers, butchers, and barbers. And if you needed to have a leg amputated, an ear amputated, a tooth pulled, who do you trust with a knife? A butcher or a soldier? Like, y'all do some pretty gnarly stuff, right? So they would go to barbers, and barbers were doing procedures. And so it even dates back further than that. You can even find out further than that back in like 1100s. They would go to these people who would cut mustaches, but they would also pull teeth. And fun fact, man, they would actually take these procedures called bloodletting, and they would let out the infection through your blood, and they would take these white cloths to soak it up. And then at the end of the day, they would dry it, and the wind would hit the rags, and it would create this white and red spiral, and that's how you get the barber pole.
No
yeah,
way.
so people in these like old school 1800s saloons,
Yeah.
you'd go down this long street to get a drink, or you'd be like, "Where's the local dent?" And you could look down the strip, and you would see them out, and that's what kind of gave life to the barber pole, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
learned
So
something
how
today.
many years were you a barber before?
My first haircuts were 7th grade.
Okay.
9th grade, I was taking it serious, and I was even doing night school while I was playing on the basketball team, coming home to a single mom.
Yeah.
I would get home at like 9 o'clock at night and have like grown men knocking on my door. They're like, "I'm here for Jake, the barber," and my mom's like, "He's in his room." And so I was in 9th grade cutting hair, 10th grade cutting hair, but 11th grade I took my board exam for barbering, and went into a barbershop full time. So I was cutting hair full time. I'm talking like 7 a.m. I was at Hillsborough Community College or USF, whichever school I was in at that time, and I would go till like 11. But during that time, I was already I was ahead of the game, man. With my cell phone, I had a little flip phone, probably like a Motorola Pebble or a Nokia something, maybe a Razor.
Yeah.
But I'd be like, okay, I could do your haircut at 11:30. I got another one at 12. I can do this one at 12:30. I'll see you there. And I was setting up my appointment book because I needed to be productive. Like, I only have from 11 to 4, and then my 5 o'clock is maybe chemistry class or physics. Mm-hmm. So I'll go to the barbershop, set up, cut hair for 5 straight hours. 5 hours was 10 haircuts, and 10 haircuts at $20 a piece. That was a quick chunk of change. I was making good money at that time, making cash. I'm sure I reported it all. But
I'm sure you did too, right?
But that's what life was like cutting hair, and I did that from 7th grade until I graduated college. And I think I did my last haircut in a barber shop right before I left to dental school. And that's what paid for my apartment, my house, my car. Not a house at the time, but that's what paid for me to get my own clothes. That's what paid for me, to go to college.
And to still live the kind of lifestyle that you want to live outside of, a traditional 8 to 5 job that you're having to go to the same place.
That would have been tough for me, man.
Yeah.
It would have been tough for me also, the whole, there was part of me who liked owning my own style, my own business. Like, I could unlock the building, and when I'm done, I can lock it up.
Yes.
I had my kind of music playing. We had movies playing. I remember watching, Step Brothers while I'm cutting hair, or Friday After Next cutting hair. Mm-hmm. And there was something about that it vibed well with my personality, but it also was really conducive to a good environment to learn.
Sure.
Because I could text my clients and say, "I can't cut hair this Saturday. I have to study for finals." And they respected that because they knew I would fit them back into my schedule.
Yeah.
So it was the guy above was looking out for me, man, and he put me in the type of environment where I could make money, provide for myself, maybe my mom, while also going to school.
So you said your friend, who his name's Kareem.
Kareem, yeah, he's a
So
MD now.
he's the one that kind of planted the seed in your mind of becoming a dentist.
He did. Not only did he plant the seed, he knew I was going to struggle because I told him I'm going to suck at chemistry. And he met me at a Starbucks and even went over some chemistry with me. Good friend.
Wow.
Yeah, good friend.
So how did you get out to Arizona? How did you choose the school that you went to out there?
So I applied to 10 schools because I was under the impression, having the GPA that I had, I didn't have the best GPA because I didn't take it that serious. My first 2 years, I didn't take it serious.
Yeah.
So I knew you had to apply to as many schools as possible because I wasn't the best pick.
Sure.
I wasn't the first round draft pick. They were going to be like, his GPA is not that great. So I knew that going in. So I applied to 10 schools. And I was like, I don't think out of those 10, why would somebody accept me? But I know if they give me an interview,
you're good.
I'm going to win them over.
Yeah.
Because I can interact with humans. I care about people. I believe in getting to know a human being. I learned that through my mom.
People can feel that from you too, man. By the way. I'm sure you hear that. But no, I appreciate that. You really can. You're like, when you talk to somebody, you make great eye contact. You do all the things that probably somebody would coach you to do if you're teaching a course on how to be an effective communicator.
Mine just came first nature, man.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the only time I've ever heard people say, I didn't like you when I first met you, or I thought you were a jerk when I first. It was always people that weren't talking to me. They were like, I saw you at a class, but you were just walking by, and I was like, dude, all you had to do is say hi to me. They're like, no. Now that I've met you, I freaking love you, man.
Yep.
So I think I've had that my whole life, because I remember back when I was playing basketball and track, I was friends with everybody.
Yep.
So I've always had that part going for me. So there was a certain confidence I had in myself that if I could just meet the person interviewing me, I could win them over with the fact that I'm a go-getter. I won't give up. I promise I'll be a great colleague for my classmates. But I knew that my GPA was not great, because I didn't take it serious at first.
Sure.
But anyways, man, I got 7 invites to 7 different schools, and I flew to 7 different places while taking this stuff.
Okay.
Out of those 7 interviews, it wasn't 7 for 7. They didn't all love me, I'm sure. But I ended up getting, I think, 4 invites to their school. Like, I got accepted to 4 schools.
Okay.
And so one of them was the school in Arizona. I chose to go there. I met the dean. He sat up on the chair during my interviews with all the other students, and he won me over. He was the kind of guy I want to be. Just through that 30 minutes he talked to us, I was like, this is school right here.
So what school was it?
Arizona School of Dentistry, ASDO. They call it.
What city is that in?
It's in Mesa, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went to Arizona for 4 years with my eyes set on Florida again.
Okay.
Like, I never meant to go there to stay there. I meant to go there to get my butt back home.
And that's exactly what
That's
you did.
what I did, man. Yeah.
Good for you.
And
So you moved back here, and then is this the first practice that you started at?
So I had 2 options in my mind. It was start my own private practice or work with a company that opens private practices or style like a private practice. And one of them was called Heartland Dental.
Okay.
And I did an interview with them before I graduated. I fell in love with maybe their vision, their mission. And I was like, sure. Like, I don't have that much capital to put up anyways. And they were like, we'll give you one of our, what we call a de novo, which is like opening a building from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And I freaking loved that, because they were like, a UPS truck is going to back in with all the equipment. You get to put it in the drawers you want to put it in. The first patient seen at that practice will be you seeing that patient. So you don't have to worry about the bad reputation of the previous doctor. So I did that with a partner, Anna Monzin, and we killed it in the beginning. We were going to leadership classes. We were having meetings. And that opened this office in 2016.
Okay.
And I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it was like for 2-3 years in a row, we were breaking records at Heartland with our growth of our practice. But I think it was just coming from 2 people who meant well, who were trying to do good dentistry, and probably a workaholic too, and that made for a successful practice with great results. And then, I mean, now we're doing all types of dentistry, and we've been here for 9 years. We're no longer the new guy in town. Or the new company
you've established at this point. 9 years is a long time.
Yeah.
So what are you most passionate about in dentistry? What do you love the most?
It's a good question, man. I think it's changed a couple times. Now I know what it is. Like concrete, I know what it is. But it's been different things.
Mm-hmm.
I only say that because if there's other dentists out there, I want them to know, like, just be mindful that what you love now, you may not love in 3 years. It may burn you out. And so that thing for me used to be Invisalign. But can you really be passionate about one treatment modality? And that's what I realized. I was falling in love with a procedure type.
Okay.
What I really fell in love with is changing people's lives. That's the cool stuff. So much so that I don't want to do anything else. Like, I don't want to do a filling because it's not going to change your life. You just be like, thanks. And you may not even remember me. And that was a tough decision to make, because the only type of dentistry that changes people's lives is in most cases, it's a expensive procedure.
Yeah.
You have to market towards it. They don't just walk in. But you also have to have a lot of time for them.
Yep.
So you have to give up all types of other dentistry, like my normal stuff, like Invisalign. I don't have time for Invisalign. I want to straighten your teeth. It's not going to change your life. It's probably going to change how you feel about certain things. Mm-hmm. You might smile more or be happier that you can floss better. Changing people's lives, I mean, they walk in here in tears because I can't laugh anymore. I don't smile anymore. Every time I bite into something, pus comes out. I'm talking like the rock bottom of dentistry.
Yeah.
I take that person and give them a full set of teeth. That person hugs you. They will never forget your name. They get to know me, and if I saw them somewhere, they'd be like, Dr. Berger, And
I've gotten emotional and cried when I've seen deliveries before after big,
Get addicted to that, man.
It's crazy. Yeah, it really is.
So that's what I'm passionate about now. There's one other thing about dentistry I'm passionate about, and I don't always do the best at it, but it's not actually what I give to my patients. It's actually what I give to my team. And so
talk about that, because that's a big thing that a lot of people don't realize if you're not in dental, that when you're a dentist in an office, you're more than just a dentist, right? Like, you're also looked up to as, in most cases, the leader of that practice. You're responsible for, in most cases, coaching and developing your team to do the things that they need to do to be successful, especially in situations where you're sick or you're going to go on vacation. You want to make sure that your practice is running like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, no, there's more leadership and coaching and mentoring and solving problems than I ever thought there was, man.
Yeah.
I would say in a day now, at the 9-year mark or 8-year mark I'm at now, I think it's, some might disagree with me, but I think it's like 50-50. I'm spending 50% of my time dentisting, being a dentist, and 50% of my time solving problems, leading my team, coaching my team, mentoring my team, meeting with my team.
How hard was it to learn how to do that? Or did it come natural for you?
It didn't come natural. The techniques were learned. The skill set got better. The desire was already there. Like, I already wanted to have a great team around me. Maybe that came from playing basketball. Maybe it just came from just, I know if you want a great business, you have to have a great team. Like, there was that part innately was in me, the desire. But the skill set got better with time. And even to this day, that saying of like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
Like, I really didn't know how much dentistry will be what you're doing and for your patients, but really what I didn't know is how much knowledge I had to be bestowing onto my team, how much coaching, how much, oh my God, y'all are bickering, we got to figure this out. Like, you know, that part is what I'm also passionate about now, but I didn't know how important it was. But what I will say, man, is if you could get that part right, then you can get dentistry even better. Because I meet a lot of dentists who probably can place an implant better than I can, or maybe finish a smile makeover better than I can. But if you didn't coach your team as good as I coach my team, or at least how I try to lead my team, maybe show that I'm transparent and vulnerable with them and a genuine leader, I can get more of them in my chair than you. And so that's cool, you did one and you could spend all day on it. I can't. I have too many patients to take care of because my team's too freaking good. They keep getting patients to say yes and say yes and say yes.
The one thing that I noticed today in working with your team is confidence. Every single person that I interacted with today, you can tell that their confidence was really high in what they were doing. And I think that is very important, especially from a patient standpoint. When I come to a dental office and I'm seeing, you know, people that work in that office or a doctor that isn't confident, what do you think, what kind of message that sends to the patient?
Yeah, and a lot of these older patients, by older I mean 30 and up, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because that's mature. 20 is also mature, but don't get me wrong, there's some 30-year-olds that are really freaking mature. They can see that right away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you're like, you know, I think this tooth needs or hey doc, what do I do with they're watching you.
Yeah, they're watching and they're dialed in. Everyone knew what their role and responsibility was all day today. I mean, the case that you had today, talk about that for a second, because you know, I know you're passionate about
case, man.
full arch, and that was a full arch case, and that definitely is going to change that gentleman's life. So kind of give us a backstory on this.
Man, there's so much about that case today, because I've even done this in a huddle with my team. I say that case got started today for like 10 different reasons. Because whoever did the consult with me did a good job. Whoever answered the phone when he called did a good job. Whoever met him when he was a new patient here years ago did a good job. What was even crazier about this one, my partner was telling me, she said, Doc, that's the guy that gave us a bad review like 2 years ago because we didn't call him back and we were late to his appointment. And like, we flipped that over and he still trusts us to this day and is leaving us good reviews now. So kudos to my hygienist.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm saying all that because there's even, how did you get him in the chair in the first place? Like,
Yeah.
Everybody had to do a good job. I had to book my anesthesiologist. I had to have all the medical history. I needed to have all the consent forms signed, all his photos taken. This is a man who decided to do this to have his life changed because he was tired of his teeth falling apart. But man, it takes so much. But that's why when I was telling you earlier, when we had some time to talk, that if a doctor wants to do full arch dentistry, the kind that changes people's lives, it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
Because if you're just winging it, I just want to dabble in it. You know, I just want to add it to my repertoire. It's just something in my toolbox. Well, then how do you know you got every consent form? How do you know you got a photo release form? How do you know you booked their anesthesiologist? Are you going to be able to reach out to their cardiologist and get all their medications right? Like, if you're just winging it, it's going to be hard to get all that. But anyways, we moved to the actual procedure itself. That was a tough one. Like, to come have somebody shadow me, it's always fun. I love it, man.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a tough one. You know, that one had me sweating a little bit because every situation is different. Sometimes I get weak teeth with strong bone. That's the worst combo. Sometimes I get strong teeth with weak bone.
Yep.
Today was a combination, man. I felt like the teeth were wanting to not come out, but then when you go to put the implant in, the bone was soft. But that's what I love about it. It's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so over prepared for this case in a good way. I had looked at his x-rays. I had all the backup plans ready. You even saw in the moment we were able to pivot and realize.
Yeah.
Like,
How much time do you think you spend just preparing mentally for a full arch case?
Probably more than I would want to. But let's say last week I was staring at his x-rays for about an hour, putting all the implants where I want them.
Mm-hmm.
But then in viewing, what if that one doesn't go there? So I also had a backup plan on top of my game plan.
Yeah.
But then I print that for my team to have so that they can go pull all the implants and make sure I have the inventory. Last night, I pulled into the office to pick up the sedation meds because I sedate my own patients many times. And I loaded up all the sedation meds. So now I don't have to think about that in the morning.
Sorry, done.
My back was hurting yesterday, bad. And so if technically I was preparing yesterday for today because I was rehabbing my back. I was stretching it. I was working it out. I was doing a massage. Not to feel better. That was one reason. Because I didn't want to not be on my A game for that patient.
Sure.
So technically that's preparing.
Yeah.
But then also what really prepared me for today's case was the 400 cases I've done before him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when I saw his sinus had a perforation in it, I didn't freak out.
Because you've been through something like
I've seen this. Let me just close it up.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw that number 5 didn't have a lot of torque, I could do the pterygoid implant. I have that in my skill set because I've had some pterygoids that didn't go well. I've had some that did go well. So I was prepared for all that today.
Yeah.
But I also had a team that was prepared for it too. When I said, give me my stuff for my pterygoid, you know,
They didn't miss a beat. They're on it.
you know, and so that was helpful, man. And so now I'm at a place where that's all I want to do. I wish I could because you got to do consults. Like I wish somebody could just put the patients in my chair. But the cool thing about doing the consults is I can get to know those patients at the consult.
Yes.
So there's still something about the consult that has to happen to put the bookend when the guy gives me a big hug or a big handshake.
Yep.
Man.
And that's, I think, part of the reason why I decided to do a podcast like this. Because you just said it yourself, right? If you need a doctor, what's one of the first things you do? Let's just say
I'm going to meet them. Like, I want to meet them.
Yeah,
a consult or bedside manner.
Consult,
look
bedside.
them up.
What about before that?
Probably look them up.
Yeah, you're going to go online, you're going to look them up.
Yeah.
Do you ever look at the bio for the doctor?
Yeah.
So that's a big one. Everyone looks at the bio. So in addition to having a bio, what if you also had short video clips where you can actually see that doctor and listen to that doctor and
That
talk
would
about
be
who they are,
awesome.
what their experience is?
And there's not a lot of doctors out there doing it.
There's not. So that was why I'm like, this is an untapped need to be able
It is.
to...
I'm glad you're doing it because I
Yeah.
didn't think about that. When you and I first chatted about doing this,
Yeah.
I didn't think about how many patients need a doctor that they can meet before they meet.
So why have an emotional connection to the doctor that they're going to see is very important. And there's a dentist on every single corner, just about, right?
Yeah.
So how do you stop somebody from going around to 5-6 different consults, which I'm sure happens a lot, right? I mean, most people will probably pick 2 or 3 at the most.
It does happen.
But you want that person to come to you when they leave here to get in their car and say, you know what? That Dr. Berger, he was the one. That's what I'm going to say. I want him to be my doctor, you know? And you wouldn't have that opportunity in a lot of cases if they didn't see you and hear from you ahead of time. So I'm glad that we're doing this so people can see you in this community because...
I know that social media makes a big difference, and I didn't realize how important it would be to my practice, but I have found now the amount of patients who sit in my chair that even though they say, I met or I heard about you through Google ads or YouTube, I still say, but where did you originally hear about me? They're like, oh, I was following your Instagram.
Yeah.
Or I saw you on Facebook. And they will comment on it about it being funny. I'm down to earth.
And it's funny, it's engaging, and you're not doing the same thing every single video, right? Like, I know that when I see your content, that I'm going to get some good ideas from myself.
That's cool.
But also, too, it's like, I'm following like you as a person day in, day out. I know what you're doing. You know what I mean? So I feel like you're taking your followers on a journey of what you're going through day in and day out.
Yeah.
And that's fun. Because if you shot the same type of videos or did the same social media every single day, it would get boring after a while.
It would. And I've been tempted to do it because it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
Other dentists are doing it, but it's not me, man.
Yeah.
So it's like,
You have main character energy. That's what
that.
you
I
have.
haven't heard that before,
That's
but I
it.
like that. I'll
That's
keep
what
that,
you
man.
got. So talk to me about Esteem Dental Implants.
Yeah, Esteem Implants is not something I knew I'd be joining. It was 4 years ago. It was already around the time I was making that decision to do life-changing dentistry. I already knew I wanted to do full arch dentistry. So I was looking for an implant funnel company, a company that I can market with, and they would bring me implant patients. Because you actually have to seek these patients out. They don't just fall into your chair, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had heard about the different companies that exist. I don't know all of them, whether it's Clear Choice, Aspen, Teeth Tomorrow, Teeth in a Day. There's a bunch of companies out there.
Mm-hmm.
I had heard about them, but I was already doing regular dentistry. So it's not like I was going to quit my job and go get hired somewhere.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to do this type of dentistry here without one of those companies. Right around that time, a buddy of mine, Dr. Jeff Lynch, Dr. Craig Golden, and Dr. Ben Hansen, they're in 3 different cities. They all happen to be with Heartland Dental, but they were getting ready to all go on this venture together to start a full arch group.
Okay.
To take what they learned from Clear Choice, Great Expressions, or not Great Expressions, let's just say it was Teeth Today or Teeth Tomorrow. What were the things we didn't like when we were a part of their organization? And what are the things we did like? And how do we create our own version of that without stealing any proprietary information?
Okay.
And they created Esteem Dental Implants, which was basically a doctor and a practice who's dedicated to only doing full arch implant dentistry. And that's what they looked for when they went to the Heartland community, which is over 2,000 doctors, or more than probably 4,000 doctors.
Okay.
They said, we're looking for doctors who are dedicated, already doing this. So it wasn't a company where you go there for CE. It wasn't a group of doctors that are looking to become interested in full arch implants. These are doctors who already were interested and already proving it. And I think they were looking for 3 things. They were looking for somebody who already does it, somebody who has a successful practice, that has the ability to afford marketing, the ability to afford CE courses, the ability to afford the monthly fee, whatever it was, right?
Yep.
And then great leadership. They wanted a practice that didn't have a bunch of turnover. They didn't have any retention issues. They didn't have any HR issues.
Sure.
Like, does this doctor also lead his team? And so I think they picked like 11, and I was one of the first 11.
Okay.
Then it went to 17, then 21, and who knows what it'll be next year.
Wow.
But that's what it is, and that's all it is. So we get together once a year
Mm-hmm.
to hang out at like a conference.
Yep.
And that's where we can challenge each other. And what was cool, actually, the first one was very clinically based. We worked on like cadavers and stuff. Second one was awesome too. Man, the third and fourth one, maybe it was the second and third one, was all leadership. It was through the Arbinger Institute. They wrote a
I've
book,
heard of them.
Power, Anatomy of Power.
Okay.
The Anatomy of Peace, Leadership and Self-Deception, and The Outward Mindset. They wrote those 3 books. So any listeners, check out those 3 books.
Okay.
They're great for life and for a practice. But that's how they spent the whole conference. So I left there a better leader. Not a better clinical dentist, but now I can lead my team better. Because this type of dentistry requires a team that's firing on all
Really
8 cylinders.
yeah.
So to go back to the Esteem Dental Implant topic, man, what it's created, though, is a place where there's an online forum. So if I have a freaking out case coming up, I can go on there and say, hey, guys, what do? I have no bone in this corner, too many abscesses in this corner. A doctor might chime in that small little 21 group. And I know they're doing the same type of dentistry. So It's not like, bro, do you really know what you're talking about? You've done one. Most of these doctors have either done more than me or they will do more than me. And they'll say things, ideas. What about this? Could you bring them in for phase 1 and then do phase 2? And so it's a place to make me better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a place to refine our craft. So if this lab keeps giving me poor results, I can go to my other 21 colleagues that do this type of dentistry.
So who's
say,
using?
any of y'all using a better lab, because I can't stand when the pink looks like this or the white looks like this.
Yeah.
Or, hey, who's using what implants, And I've had doctors be like, hey, when are you going to use BioHorizon Conical? When are you going to use your mushroom caps for after your case heals up? Who uses their own anesthesiologist? And how much do you pay? I've even learned some doctors who were getting their screws for like $10 a piece from Rosen. and then another doctor is getting desk screws for $4 a piece. One change will save me a crap ton of money on my P&L without changing the quality of care I'm giving my patient.
So
that's
comparing
why,
notes is a really big part of
mm-hmm.
being part of a group like that. It's not just what you're going to learn, it's the actual support and the experience of strength in numbers, in a sense.
And strength in numbers is huge with this type of dentistry because I want to know what kind of marketing works, what kind of marketing doesn't work. How long do you leave your patients in temporaries? How long do you not leave your patients in temporaries? So it allows me to be better. And I think patients subconsciously love a brand. Like I want a pair of Nikes. I want a BMW. They start to believe in a brand. So I also bought into that. I'm like, you know what? One day there's going to be 100 esteemed doctors, and a patient may actually seek us out because we're part of an organization. Whereas maybe just Dr. Berger on the corner.
Yeah.
You know, like, I trust him, but he's just a doctor. You know, like maybe there's a certain standard if I'm with a company. So that's why I wear it proudly. I want my patients to know that there's something here that I believe in. There's a standard.
Yep.
And if they, maybe they're at an esteemed practice in another state. When they move to Florida, they're going to look for an esteemed doctor.
Sure.
And so, who knows? I don't know what the vision is for it right now for the decision makers.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm riding the wave and having fun doing it.
That's great. So if I'm seeing this video right now, and let's just say I just moved to this area with my family from out of state, what do you want prospective patients to know about you and this office from, I guess, a patient perspective? What's that patient experience in your mind look like coming to see you and your team?
You know, I bet even that answer has changed over the years.
I'm
and
sure.
Obviously you're asking what is it right now, but
Yeah.
I'll share the evolution of it. There was a time where I would say that you can get anything done here at our practice, and we did. At one point, there was not one extraction we wouldn't do. There's not one root canal we wouldn't do, and that's kind of changed a little bit. But that doesn't change the fact that I still want patients to come see us.
Yeah.
There's been times where I'm like, we're killing it with our response rate. We answer any phone call. If someone has a concern, like we're that go-to place. We don't always answer the phone. That's one of our struggles here. We miss the phone calls a lot. Or I've had patients say, I want Dr. Berger to reach out to me, and I forgot. So I've learned to make that evolution where now what my thing is that you have 3 dentists and a practice that actually care about you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're actually going to take good care of you. We're transparent. We mean well. We're going to treat you like we would treat our own family members. That's important because I would also forget to call my brother. But my brother knows I freaking love that man, you know. And I think that's important. I think now that's what I would say is you're going to find that it's not about the money here. Some patients might think it is because I offered them something they weren't interested in. But that's not my fault you weren't interested in it.
Yeah.
But I offered it because my heart was in the right place. And I'm trying to offer you fluoride or a sealant for a reason. So right now, I think the thing I would want them to know is that you have 3 dentists who are trying hard to set the right, I guess, maybe a reputation, legacy. Like I want there to be a legacy of like they meant well and they did well and they took good care of me and they led a great team.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think a patient will find that when they're here, that I'll say what's up to them and by their first name. And even yesterday, it was my day off. I was pulling in to get those sedation meds.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Ruth. And Ruth was like, Dr. Berger, I haven't seen you in 2 years. Because I do just full large implants now.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, man, anytime someone tells me they need a dentist, I always say, go to Dr. Berger. You may not see him, but you'll see one of his 2 partners. And like that's part of hearing that was exciting was the fact that I built up enough trust when I was doing it to where they even trust my partners more.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I had that transition where patients would be like, you're not going to be seeing me anymore? Like, now I have to go somewhere else? Like, no, I have a partner. I'm not going to her. I don't know her. You would go meet somebody else you don't know. So why not go to somebody I already vouched for?
Right.
And so I remember that conversation happening. That was 2-3 years ago now.
Yeah.
But fast forward to right now, and I think the thing that a patient would find is when they come in here, it's like, they mean well. We're going to mess up sometimes. Not necessarily with your teeth, but I'm going to write the wrong prescription to the wrong pharmacy, and you have to drive down the block to go get it. But don't hate me, because I meant well. And I think that's the message right now in 2025, that's the message I'm trying to convey, is that you have someone who really freaking cares. Maybe even a little too much. Like, I'm obsessed with this.
I would say, from my experience around you, and it's limited, I would say I've noticed just the way that you engage with patients and your team, really good listener, and effective communicator. I think that that's the key. You listen with intent. Like right now, you're Yeah, and it sounds funny.
Because I am curious, man. I am curious.
This is the second or third time I've said this, and I'm still trying to figure out if you're looking at me intently because you can't hear what I'm saying because of my voice, or or if it's because you really genuinely care. I feel like it's because you genuinely care. And I think people see that. So that's really, really commendable that not only do you have that type of relationship with your patients, but like you said, you have two associate doctor partners in the practice. You just said, hey, I might not be able to see you anymore, but these two other amazing doctors in the practice can and will. So I think that your growth that you guys have seen is a testament to that. And also a testament to the fact that you guys are expanding.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, so talk to us about that.
Yeah, no, that
following
part,
your expansion work.
That part is really cool. I'm having so much fun with that. You've probably seen that on my social media.
Whose truck is that? The monster truck.
Oh, yeah. That's he's one of my patients, Zach Garden. Thanks, Zach, for letting me jump in your truck, man. He's an awesome patient of mine, which is cool because almost every patient that you see on those videos, like none of them, it's not like they're paid advertisements or anything. They're just patients. But even some of the people working on my expansion are some of my patients because I'm using them as contractors.
That's awesome.
But the expansion actually is happening from exactly what we're talking about, is 3 dentists who are busting their butt to do what's best, sometimes too much because it can be uneven balance. And I think that's important to say that I don't know that I could have the level of success I'm having unless there's some unequal balance sometimes. Mm-hmm. And this whole work-life balance thing. And I don't think enough doctors admit when they're killing it and everybody's giving them props. Yeah. They don't always say that they're not home that much. They don't always say they've skipped a bunch of workouts. They don't always talk about the nights they only got 4 hours of sleep. And I'm pretty big with my megaphone to preach that it happens. Be careful. Like, it's neat to give me all the kudos about this expensive practice and great treatments and our social media page is killing it. It's like, it's not always fun and it's not always glamour.
Rainbow and sunshine.
It's not,
right?
Man. And so I don't mean that like to put a damper on what we're talking about, but I just want all the doctors out there who are like, I'm exhausted. You're not alone. Like, to those doctors out there, or to the patients who are like, he didn't get back to my call. Well, I also got 5 hours of sleep last night because I did an 8-hour surgery and I still have 2 kids and I need my own breakfast and dinner. Like, it gets tough, man. But when it is going well, great things happen. And one of the great things that's happening right now is this expansion. So we have 12 chairs here at the office, but we need more. We need more. I needed another room for photography and records. We needed another room for important meetings to happen. Like, let's say I needed to give somebody a coaching moment. There's not one private room in this entire building to do that. So people would just walk in on us while I'm like, somebody's in tears going, you're right, I'm going to get so much better at that, doc. And people were just walking in. So we needed a room for that. Yeah. We needed another bathroom. I needed a bigger surgical suite because I have doctors come visit and watch a lot more now than I ever had before. Mm-hmm. And my partners are getting to a place where they've established themselves as a great dentist in the neighborhood. Yeah. So now their schedules are getting busier. Yep. You know, they're building their own patient base. I gave my patient base to one of my partners because of this type of dentistry I'm doing now. Well, she's also getting her own. On top of the 4,000 I gave her, she's probably made her own 2,000. Yeah. So now they're like, I can't get in to see you for 6 weeks. So she needs another chair. So I'm giving up one of my chairs to her and to my other partner. I'm getting out of their way. And I'll go in the back corner. But the cool thing about this expansion is I built it with I probably spent way too much time and caffeine on this project. But I viewed every corner I would turn intentionally. Like, if I turn this corner, how do I make sure I don't run into somebody? Or if I'm a patient that just got sedated and they have to go potty, how do I make sure we don't go too far? Yes. And they fall, or a patient with blood coming out of their mouth, I don't want them walking through my hallways.
Seeing other patients.
Other anxious patients. Yes. Mm-hmm. So everything from the way the patient gets picked up by their ride, to the type of like speakers that are in the room, to where the TV's located, like all that was thought of, man. And so now I feel like I got this, I won't call it a blank check because it definitely wasn't a blank check, but Heartland and I talked and we said, hey, let's build this together. And it's an expensive project. Yeah. And it's probably going to be north of $1 million when it's done. But it has a consult room, records room, an extra sterilization area, 3D printing. I can mill my own zirconia finals, so I'll have a lab in-house. Yep. I'll be able to make my own finals. So when a patient says, I don't like how this turned out, I don't have to ship it to California, wait a week, have them come back. Like, I'll just hand it to my team member.
Boom, bust it out.
I have my
Nice.
own office in the corner so I can do a lot more podcasts and videos and like all my meetings I do in my office now.
Yeah.
And there's 3 doctors crammed in there. And so I'm like trying to do a legit meeting with Heartland Dental with sometimes proprietary information.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is a tough spot to be in. So that's what's happening with the expansion. It'll be ready in May of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
You can come back and film it. We're doing some really cool epoxy floors.
Really?
We're going to do polished concrete.
Oh, yeah.
But then it changed to epoxy, so it's going to have like these cool swirls in it.
I've had that before.
It's going to be like no other dental office you've seen. You'll see the difference. It'll be like, yeah, that makes sense that he would do that.
Yeah. Well, I got one last question for you. When you think about, actually, I have 2 questions. 2 questions for you. These are 2 questions I've asked every doctor that I've had on the show, because the answers that I get are very personal. And I think, again, it probably depends on where you're at in your career. But my first question is, how do you manage your work-life balance? So you said you're married, you have kids, you're here, 8-10 hours a day, you go home. How do you turn it off? How do you turn it on? What's your approach?
I haven't mastered it. I'm actually not that great at it.
Okay.
I think I would almost say like the Mamba mentality topic, where it's like you go all in and it's like hustle, grind. And it has its negative effects. And so I'm not saying I'm not there for my kids. Like, I still pick them up from school sometimes. I still play basketball with them. I'm there to put them down for bed.
Yeah.
But the amount of times I'm at a CE course and they go, Dad, you're leaving again? Or the amount of times I get home at 6:30 because I had a bunch of calls to do after my patients.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, it's almost close to bedtime, Dad. Like, I hate those moments. And I just keep telling myself it's worth it in the end. It's worth it in the end. But then while I'm saying that, I'm like, be present in the moment, Jake, though. You don't know what 10 years from now could have in store.
Yeah.
So I'm currently trying to refine that.
It's hard.
So I don't have it made yet. I'm not great at it yet. The only thing that turns my brain off completely, and I don't know whose feelings it would hurt, but it's been this way my whole life, is basketball. If I can just sneak away to the gym for an hour and a half and just shoot around by myself, the world turns off. So I'll share humbly, and maybe it's not a self-diagnosis, but I struggle with ADHD. Like, I'm all over the place. And the best analogy I can use is it's like watching 5 TV screens at the same time. They're all playing at the same time. And I have to figure out, like, when I'm intently listening to you, it's because there's nothing else happening right now. But dude, if there was people walking by or a TV on,
Scroll.
Exactly. And I struggle with it. So I'm also always in my thoughts too. Like, when I'm driving home, I'm like, I forgot to call that one patient. I got to call that patient. Tomorrow I have that one case. I hope I got the implant. Did I call the lab? Did I text you? Was it the right number? Should I talk to them on Instagram? Like, I struggle with that. But the only time all that turns off, it's not when I'm watching a movie. It's not when I'm with my kids. It's when I'm just shooting around. Maybe
Ball is life.
for me it is, man. And that's why when I hurt my back, I struggle, because then I'm like, damn, I can't play basketball. So I think everybody needs that thing.
Yeah.
I know some people have said it's for them, it's running. For some people, it's Netflix or hanging out with their spouse. And maybe mine isn't healthy because it takes me away from my kids. It takes me away from work, but it's basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thing.
Gotcha. Well, I think it's good. I think that you know what your thing is. I think there's a lot of guys that get into their late 30s, their 40s, and they don't have something to fall back on. They don't have something that they have identified that they thoroughly enjoy doing. So the fact that you have that and you recognize that puts you ahead of the game.
That's kind of my balance, man.
Yeah.
At least I try to make it.
So last question. This is a big one. What do you want your legacy to be? When you think about where you started your career to where we're at today, to where you're going to be in, say, 20, 25 years from now, how do you want to be remembered, and what do you want to be remembered for?
It is a big one, and I don't think I'm going to do a great job answering it, just because I feel like it's a loaded one. For me, I think the best thing I could say right now at 36 years old, 2025, I would want that if 20 years from now or 30 years from now I retire or I stop doing dentistry, is I made a bunch of people's lives better than before they met me. That's really the only one I can think of right now, because it's not about how many dollars I make. Like, I'm already at that point now where I'm getting to that place of not financial freedom. It's not like I'm buying jets and stuff. I'm not. But I'm not doing it for the money anymore.
You're doing it because you love what you're doing.
I love it, yeah.
And helping people.
And I think there's also part of me is like, but I want to also make sure that if I left the world a better place here at the dental office, that I also was a good dad. That I was also, you know, at church, maybe somebody recognized me, or my brother said, you know, he never stopped calling me. So that's why I want to say I make the world better the day after they hang out with me or that I'm around than the day before. You know, maybe that sounds cliche, but I feel like that's what I really want to capture, because it's not be the best dentist, because that means I'm going to probably be a sucky leader in some way or a sucky dad in some way. I don't want to just be the best surgeon. It's like, I don't want to be just the best communicator. I don't want to be the best anything. I just want to...
The jack of all trades.
I want to be the best
master
Jake.
of none. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Good timing. No, that was good timing.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been a really good opportunity to sit down with you. I'm a big fan of you as a person. And being able to come in here today and observe you work meant a lot to me. So thank you for allowing me to come in and do that. And I wish you the best of luck in the future.
I got to throw a thank you out there. I
Sure.
think you coming out and speaking great things about me to my team, to my partners, like that meant a lot to me. I've had a lot of people visit our practice, not like in a cocky way, but not a lot have left a mark on me. But I think I'm just crazy impressed with what you went through. Like you shared briefly with me.
Yeah.
And I know, like, I wonder if I would have even handled it as strongly as he did. Or would I have been a little bit more of a punk and just back down. But I know you probably went through phases, man. But you're doing something that is pretty damn inspiring, man. So keep doing it, bro.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I was down, but now I'm up. Yeah, it's all God.